people are trickling back in here. Couple more.
Is there such a thing as Big Mac?
Is Big Mac nice? I don't know. You can look and see and come up with an answer for that. Naming things is a thing in cryptography, though. Like that's a question. Okay, what do we got? Somebody. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, I can do it. Well, they're both easy and fast to compute. Hash functions and math.
Yep. Somebody else. Similarity, difference. What else you got? You guys talked about this, so everybody should be ready to volunteer. Somebody
Arbitrary
else.
length input, fixed output.
Arbitrary length input, fixed length output would be a similarity. Okay, cool. What else?
The difference would be that a hash function is just a single function, whereas the MAC would be a set of functions.
Yep. So we would say that or
a
family.
piecewise function, depending on how you define it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. What else? Are there similarities? Are there differences? Cody, what do you got?
For the hash function, you need to have a prime number of the key, whereas for the MAC, it doesn't matter.
Keep talking. I'm not quite sure what you mean.
The key for hash functions needs to be prime, I believe we said. Whereas for a MAC, we didn't say that k necessarily has to be prime. It just has to be a large number, right?
So it depends. So hash functions don't usually have a key at all. Sometimes there's a prime you can use to set one up, depending on how your hash function actually works.
Right. I had written down that you needed to have a large prime, but that was just what you used for the function. That wasn't necessarily a key. Never mind that.
And that was a specific example also. So it depends on how you choose to implement your hash function, what your protocol is. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else? Other similarities, other differences, anything else here that we've got? We've hit a lot of them. Anything else you want to share? Okay then, how about goals in attacking a hash function? What would Eve's goals be in attacking a hash function? Somebody give me a goal. What could she try? You all totally talked about this.
She could try and reverse the hash.
Okay, talk a little bit more. What do you mean specifically?
So the hash functions you're not supposed to be able to get the pre-image, but she could try and get the pre-image from the hash.
Okay, so she could try to come up with a pre-image. What else? What would other goals of Eve be? What else would she maybe want to try?
Middleman attack.
Yep, man in the middle attack, replacing her own hash value and message for Alice's. Absolutely. Okay, what about Eve attacking a MAC? What would her goal be there? What is she trying to do if she's attacking a MAC? What could potential goals be? Again, you talked about this. Be brave, volunteer, even though it's on Zoom. What do you have? Cody, go ahead.
Well, if she could somehow figure out what k is, then that would just let her do whatever she wants.
Yep, absolutely. Figuring out k would definitely be a goal. Other ones, other goals that she could have for attacking a message authentication code? Anybody else? Daniel?
Could she like replace it with her own like when they choose the blender, like she makes it so that she chooses a different blender for Bob or something and then like uses her own thing, or does that not work?
Kind of. So you're kind of hitting on my next or my last value here. So the last thing she could do is forge a message authentication tag and a message pair, right? So kind of impersonate Alice, kind of, sort of, looking to do some forgery here. That would be another goal. And again, because of Kirchhoff's principle, this has to be done without knowledge of the key. That's super important because Kirchhoff's principle says we're going to assume she doesn't have a key. Okay, couple more things. We're going to talk about types of attacks and types of forgeries, and then how do you create these things. So types of attacks. These should look familiar because we talked about types of attacks on cryptosystems at the very beginning of the semester. These are not exactly the same, but these are similar. So types of attacks, they should hopefully be self-explanatory also. a known text attack. So she has access to one or more message MAC value pairs. Known text attack. She has no control over what those pairs are. She just has access to these pairs. And then she'd like to try to attack and be able to either find the key or forge a authentication tag for her message. So just known text. This is the least amount of control that Eve can possibly have. No control over them, but she sees these go by. One step up is a chosen text attack. So she has access to these pairs and she can influence the choice of each message. So a little more control here. She has access to these pairs and she can choose each message. That's called a chosen text attack. This again should sound familiar, although the beginning of the semester feels like years ago at this point in time, but it should sound a little familiar from the beginning of the semester. All right. The third one that is the best, the most control that Eve possibly has is called an adaptive chosen text attack, an adaptive chosen text attack. So it's the same as the first two. She has access to these pairs. She can choose each message, okay? So she's got that amount of control. Plus, she can choose each message sequentially. So she can say, okay, I learned something from this previous pair. Here's my next choice that I'm going to make. And then I learned something from these two previous pairs. Here's my next message that I want you to give me a MAC value for. So the difference between a chosen text attack and an adaptive chosen text attack is in the sequencing of the choice. In a chosen text attack, Eve just has to say, here's all the messages all at once that I want you to give me authentication tags for. In an adaptive chosen text attack, she can do them one at a time and she can use her previous knowledge that she's gained to get the next one. Does that make sense? Difference between those two? Okay, all right. Anything for questions on that? Those are different types of attacks that she can do. Anything for questions on that? Okay then, types of forgeries that she can perform. So there's a couple of these, and again, we go from less control to more control. So from less to more control. First one is called an existential forgery, and this means that she can produce a valid message and MAC value pair, but she doesn't have any control over what the message is. So in a sense, this isn't super helpful because she's probably not going to be able to do a message that is interesting. It'll probably just be garbled letters strung together. But the point is that she can still forge a message authentication tag. So this is a problem in terms of the security of the message authentication code, but practically speaking, it's really not all that helpful for Eve if she's trying to disrupt communication between Alice and Bob. So that's an existential forgery. She just knows that she can forge something, it exists, but she has no control over it. Selective forgery is better. So selective forgery means that she can forge a MAC value and she has control over what the message is. So this is a step up. This is better. If you have a message authentication code, technically it is insecure from a cryptological standpoint if Eve can do either of these things. Practically, it is insecure only if she can do the second. So we can differentiate between technically insecure and practically insecure. First one, technically is bad. We don't want this to happen, but practically speaking, it really doesn't cause all that much trouble. Second one is bad on both of these. Okay, we're assuming maybe, possibly, that she might be able to create forgeries without knowing K. That's a possibility. And if she knows K, then obviously she can do a selective forgery, right? Because if she knows K, that's Kirchhoff's principle. That is the only secret piece of information in this entire process. So if she knows K, she knows everything, and she can do a selective forgery. What we want is to design message authentication codes that are secure against forgeries, even if she can't figure out the key. So that's what we're looking to do here. We want to make sure that these things are secure, even if she can't figure out the key. All right. I can see all of you again. Questions on either of those, on types of attacks or types of forgeries? Either one there. Questions, anybody? Okay, last thing.